Hello. I'm not gonna try this anymore. The idea was to try and do a Randy Savage impression, but I'm not gonna do that because I'm not gonna torture people like that. As always, I'm Saturn 185. This is Power Positivity. This time, episode 9, and my this episode's wonderful guest, although her name is COisNOTpog, I think she's pog as fuck. How are you doing?
I am doing well, and I will continue to defeat those allegations.
I don't know. You're doing a terrible job at it.
I mean, I don't know what else I could say except the cream always rises to the top.
Oh yeah.
That actually wasn't very good either, but
uh, anyways, what motivated you to start doing uh, any kind of internet content?
so me doing internet content is actually kind of a long story that goes back a pretty long ways.
We have
Um,
plenty of time.
it is true. So I guess the easy one to talk about first is just the streaming because that's what I still currently do. Um, so for the streaming, honestly, you know, I literally just didn't have a job at the time, and I did not know what else to do. I was like, you know what? This might actually be fun. This would give me an excuse to like play video games I've been meaning to play, or just try new things I might not have played. Which is kind of what I did when I started. I think the first game I actually completed was The Punisher on PlayStation 2. Um, and then I just kind of stopped doing that and I just started playing games that I always play. So now I just play racing games and American Truck Sim and shit like that. But yeah, it's really just being bored and jobless. You know, you kind of find something to do, and I just randomly started doing it, and I realized that I like doing it, and I'm still here.
Well, I'm certainly glad about that. um, from I alluded to it at the start, but one of your redeems is the cream rises to the top. From Randy Savage. How do you come up with your own redeems, and do you remember how you came up with this specific example?
So my redeems are just basically memes that live rent free in my head that I literally cannot get out of my head. And just Randy Savage's whole existence is one of those things, that just pops into my head at random occasions. Um, and that one I feel like is the one that like most people know. I feel like is the most memeable. But yeah, that one is like constantly in my head. As well as the one from like the original Spider-Man, where he's like, "I got you for 3 minutes of playtime." So like, yeah, it's just it literally that's all it is. There's like this very little thought effort actually put into it, to be honest with you.
That's understandable, and honestly, those end up being the funniest redeems in any channel, to be honest. Um, you mentioned a few things about the about Randy, but still the most surprising thing I've learned is that he has a rap album.
Yes, he does unfortunately have a rap album. Um,
Is it as horrible as it sounds?
I've listened to like one of the songs on it. One of the songs that someone said was one of the better songs, and it was pretty horrific. So, yeah, I would recommend doing your best to forget that thing exists and never listening to it.
Well, I wasn't planning on listening to it to begin with.
You were doing yourself a million favors by choosing that route. Because I don't even think he wanted to make it. It was at a time where the WWE was Um, actually, was it might have been the WWF at the time. I don't remember, but Vince McMahon just trying to expand and to appeal to everyone, and they thought that that would appeal to people, and it did not.
Oh well. Do you have a favorite stream or moment during a stream of in yours,
Um, I don't really know if I could think of specifically a favorite moment, but
or a stream
yeah,
that
I
you
mean,
thought it went like really well or something like that?
oh, oh yeah, no, a specific stream, I absolutely have one. It actually wasn't too long ago; it was a few weeks ago. Um, I did a Truckin' Tuesday stream. So actually, a little explanation for everyone. Every Tuesday, I play either American Truck Sim or Euro Truck Sim or occasionally some random ass truck game. And it's Truckin' Tuesday, and it's been a tradition for like the last year. But usually, what I'm doing, I will raid out to someone that is Mr. Cool VT or Adam, who if you wonderful people who could be following Saturn have already seen, has already been interviewed, and yeah, he's kind of the one that started Truckin' Tuesday. Um, so usually I'll just raid into him and just watch his stream. But we actually did a convoy, so we did like multiplayer for I don't know how many hours. I think it was like 4 or 5 hours, and it was just genuinely like the most fun I've ever had on a stream. Like just the whole time was just us acting like absolute goobers, and it was fantastic. It was genuinely one like some of the I feel like the best content I have ever been a part of on the internet.
Well, can't wait to see more of that. For context, this is being recorded on a Tuesday, although it will release on a Friday, as per usual.
Well, look, as long as we got the Truckin' Tuesday spirit, that is all that matters.
Thank you. Um, do you remember? I asked if there was a stream that went particularly well. How about a stream that went particularly badly? Do you have any memories of any streams that went like that?
Ooh, I do actually. It was a very, very long time ago. It was before I was even affiliated. Um, there was a stream where I was doing iRacing, and the racing already wasn't going so well, but then there was also someone just in the game who like spun me a few times, even though it's faster than him. So I was like already like actually pissed off and not really even talking into the mic. And then all of a sudden, the nasty comments started coming in to like the chat inside iRacing, and I was like, "Oh, okay, I'm gonna end stream and report you. This is nice." So that was definitely one of like the like actually by far like the worst stream experience I've ever had so far. And is actually I don't even know if I've told anyone this. That's actually the reason I don't play iRacing anymore. Like I used to be really into iRacing, and after that, I just basically gave it up.
Understandable. Yeah, sometimes. Yeah, sometimes you give up on stuff just not to deal with people who do also do that thing. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um. Everyone, anyone who is listening in, remember to hydrate. We like our our listeners hydrated and doing well. Uh,
Monster Energy does not count as hydration. As much as I mean Monster, that does not count as hydration. Water.
yeah. Although I do understand that there's countries where you can't just drink tap water.
Yeah, no. I mean, honestly, one of those countries is pretty much the United States. The tap water here is not always very safe. So you gotta filter it.
Actually, I'm drinking tap water right now.
I'd probably get chlorine poisoning if I drank the tap water where I live.
That's depressing. Um, you you also collect video games and consoles. How did that start?
Yeah, so the collecting, that's something that I've kind of done for just a very long time. It's just over the last few years I've actually like had the room to actually like keep stuff and organize stuff. Um, but yeah, I mean it really started like, kind of the mid 2000s when I was like a teenager. Um, just like going to GameStop and just, finding games that look cool and sound fun. And of course, at that time, that was like when the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 were still pretty new. PS2 games were like dirt cheap. Like you could go to GameStop and get just so many PS2 games for like fucking $2. Like you'd pay nothing for these games. And, a lot of these games I just kept, I've just had over the years. Um, But then yeah, after a while, I just actually started to like really putting together like collections. Like, I collected like all the Need for Speed games first, and then all the NASCAR games, and then I went for like every PlayStation 2 racing game in the US. And that was like the first like kind of large collection because it's almost 300 games just from that collection. And it just started snowballing from there. Eventually like I got actually got a Dreamcast was like the first real like console I just bought so I could buy games for it. And that snowballed because that then led into just starting to actually like buy expensive games because like unless you plan on like, burning games onto CDs or doing like a SD card mod for it, Dreamcast gets expensive very quickly. So that got me down like the rabbit hole of like, actually buying expensive games and following the prices of stuff. And then yeah, it just hasn't stopped. I'll if I go out, I might like stop at the pawn shop and look. I'll see what they got that's new. They'll have like a $2 bin. I'll look through there and sometimes there's like some really good stuff in there. That's why I have 3 copies of Driver San Francisco on the Xbox 360 because apparently no one there wants that game, so they just throw it in the $2 bin. And yeah, it just like collecting is fun, and I do like preserving physical video games, but it becomes a problem very quickly.
Do you remember the first game you bought specifically to collect?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Because the thing is, like, while I collect, I do buy games with the intention of possibly playing them one day. Like, I don't just buy games because they're expensive or buy games because they're rare. Like I'm not really that kind of collector. Um, Pretty much everything I have on the shelf, except for a few exceptions that might have been just like really, really cheap. Like I would like to play, Like I honestly I don't have enough time left in my life to play all the games I have, but yeah, I mean there are a few though that I have like gone out of my way to get though. And that mainly starts coming down to stuff I want that was just never sold in the US. Like one of the big ones that I just, even after I bought it, I still didn't believe I purchased it till it arrived at my house, was Sega Rally 2006. So, Sega Rally 2006 was only released on the PS2 and only in Japan. And then they had like a special edition that came with a second disc that had like a port of the original Sega Rally from 1995. And it's actually like a really good port of the game. So if you have like both discs, like the price of the game is like double. Um, but it's not like I could go to a flea market and find that because it was only sold in Japan. So
Yeah.
like that was one of the first ones I really like went out of my way and like spent money on to purchase. Because yeah, most of the other games I haven't spent that much money on. Like they're $10, $15 games, and even a lot of the ones I have that are expensive, I did not pay like retail price. Like the one I always bring up because it was the best deal I've gotten so far is I do have a copy of Pokemon Black 2, and I found that at a pawn shop for $15. That in box is like $160 right now.
Oh, Jesus
I'm
Christ on a bicycle.
yeah, yeah, shout out to DS Pokemon games. They're all actually no, Diamond and Pearl's not over 100. All the rest of them are over 100 complete in box except for literally Diamond and Pearl, but those are still like 80, 90 complete in box, and that's the cheapest ones. But yeah, I was not there's no way.
Oh, wow.
there, there's so much shit I would buy over a single Pokemon game for $160.
Shout out to our four cards, I guess.
Yeah. No, emulation is your friend. Even though actually I tell a lot of people this, even though I collect physical video games, um yeah, emulation. Don't just because you can't afford the game don't mean you can't play it. Emulation is your friend.
Yeah. If it wasn't for emulation, I mean, you talked about Sega Rally 2006. I'd never be able to play that or the PS2 version of Sega Rally 1.
Yeah, well, even the Punisher on PS2 I mentioned, I wouldn't pay $80 for that game just to try it. Like it wouldn't happen. Now I actually want a copy because it's actually a genuinely good game. I'll actually recommend the Punisher on PS2 to anyone that likes kind of third person shooters from the era. It again, a really fun game. Um, but yeah, and then even like Racing Lagoon, Japanese only. It's only in Japan. It's an RPG. Like it's literally like trying to play Final Fantasy, the Japanese version. Like emulation with the language patch is the only way you can really play that game unless you learn how to read Japanese.
Yeah, I don't think I'd be able. Maybe I would be able to learn, but it would take so long. Um,
Yeah, and it's a thing too, is that it's like even if like you would have to like already want to learn the language because just learning how to read like one language to play a singular game, even though it would open you up for more, is a little extra, honestly.
yeah, a little. Um, if if someone who was thinking about getting into collecting asked you, what what is a good system to start off with today? Would you respond?
So at the moment, I would recommend the PlayStation 2. Um, Now that's gonna sound a little biased because I do love the PlayStation 2, but the actual consoles themselves are still relatively affordable. Actually, if it's someone that lives in Europe, the consoles are way cheaper in Europe than they are in the US.
Oh,
But again, the consoles are pretty cheap. You can still buy memory cards, like not official new ones, but you can still buy new memory cards. There's still aftermarket controllers coming out for them that are really, really good, actually better than the original. And majority of the games are pretty cheap. Like there are expensive games, there's some games that are over $1,000, but yeah, majority of the games are, 10, 15, $20. Even like the Need for Speed titles, like Need for Speed Most Wanted complete in box in the PS2, it's like a $20 game. It's substantially cheaper than everywhere else. I mean, you got multiple Gran Turismo titles, Grand Theft Auto. Um, there's tons of fighters on there if you like fighters. There's tons of RPGs. I mean, it has stuff for everyone, and there's so much of it there that is just genuinely great, without breaking the bank. So yeah, that's always has been the one for a long time I recommend, and that hasn't really changed. Um, for a while, it did become the Xbox 360. I would recommend. Problem is with the store shutting down, people are kind of losing their mind about that console, and the prices on a lot of the games have been like doubling and tripling, so I can't in good conscience recommend that anymore.
Yeah, understandable. Also, to you talked about the PS2. Actually, the console sold so well on um in Europe, or at least the corner of Europe that I live in, that two things that I could add is that stores almost only stock PS2 stuff. Like you'd have a small corner for Xbox stuff, GameCube game stuff. Some stores will have a small corner for it, and everything else will be PS2. Like
Yeah,
so
yeah,
many
yeah. That
people would own PS2s. I jokingly call it the people's console.
yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, that would make a lot of sense too for people who live in Europe. Because I mean, in the U.S., of course, here it sold incredibly well too. I mean, it did everywhere. It's still the best-selling console of all time. And it released, 24 years ago. So, um, yeah, like it sold well everywhere. It's just here in the US, um, it's getting a little more difficult to find the stuff. Like the PS2 stuff, I don't usually see it like, in pawn shops or at flea markets as much anymore. But even like eBay prices, like you can go on eBay and buy stuff for PS2 and not feel like you're getting, screwed over. Um, but yeah, around here, like Xbox 360 stuff is the easy stuff to find because the US is pretty much where Xbox has always done well. Even if Europe didn't touch it, Japan didn't touch it, it sold well here. So yeah, like if I go to the pawn shop right now, I guarantee you I could go find like 300, 360 games just sitting there.
God, yeah, here you can find 360 stuff, but it's not incredibly common. Um, do you have a favorite game to stream apart from trucking stuff, of course?
Apart from trucking,
Yeah, I'm
ooh.
eliminating the easy answer.
Oh yeah, that is that does take it away because there's not really any other games that I consistently come back to. Um, I will say lately, even though I am still playing it, I have had a massive amount of fun playing Fallout New Vegas on stream. That has been so much more fun than I thought it would. Because I, did just start that game for a special event, and I genuinely didn't think I would continue it. But yeah, I mean, the first time I streamed it for 12 hours, and then it's 6, and then 8, and I'm usually like a 3-hour streamer, and then I'm done. But yeah, that game's just been so fun that I will just sit here all night and stream that game. Um, Yeah, I think I went till 4 in the morning last time too. Just caught up in it, just having crazy amounts of fun.
Yeah, that's it's always nice to see a streamer truly having fun. Um, I've asked this to Chrissy, and I also asked this to Minnie, and I think it's a good idea to also ask this about to you. But if it isn't, you can always say that you don't want to answer. Okay?
Okay.
Um, what advice would you give to someone who's starting to who knows they aren't what they were assigned to as birth, but they don't quite have things figured out, or they can't, or haven't figured out how they want to show who they truly are? Do you have
hmm
any advice that you can give?
Um, yeah, I can definitely give a little bit. So should uh say first before I get into it because we haven't really said yet. Um, so if no one else has figured it out with Saturn calling me a she and her, I am transgender, which is why I sound like a dude, but I have boobs. Um,
You're a woman to
so
me.
Yeah, for
If that's what is
like,
that what you feel,
mhm.
that's what you are to me.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I mean, the thing is, the best advice I can really give, because like everyone's experience is different, is like if you just have to trust yourself, like you know who you are, because you know, with being transgender or non-binary, gender fluid, whatever anyone goes by, it's easy to question and think, oh, maybe I'm faking this. Oh, maybe I'm lying to myself. Oh, I can just, try harder, I can just try harder to be a guy. And it doesn't work. So um, you really just have to listen to yourself. Like, you know who you are inside. You genuinely do. You just have to accept it and admit it and be yourself, The thing is, being yourself, not everyone's going to like you. And it doesn't matter who you are. That is the truth. Not everyone is going to like you. And you're just going to have to accept that and move on. And with being trans, that is more true than anything because, you try to hide who you are for so long and then you come out and then you discover, oh, hey, these people are assholes and don't actually like me unless I'm this way. So it's like, you know, when I did come out, I did lose quite a few friends. I lost some family, but I've also made some of the most amazing friends that I've ever made in my life afterwards. Just being myself. Because these people like who I actually am. Not the show that I'm putting on. Um, but yeah, I mean just, being yourself, listening to yourself, that's I don't think I could give any better advice than that.
It's easy to like the real you. Like it really is. Um, um, I really hope you didn't mind me putting you on the spot like that.
Oh no, you're fine. You're fine.
Um, but yeah, it's because it's something that, well, I have no idea. But if I can have someone who knows what they're talking about and has the experience, maybe even if between all of the free times I made the question, it only helps one person, I'd say it's worth it.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate that too. Because I guess the thing is that it's not even always about like understanding because no one's gonna understand everything. It's really acceptance is the biggest thing. That's all. That's all anyone can really ask for.
Yeah, of course. The only person who can truly understand you is, well, it's you. Uh, um, now to a lighter topic, if you don't mind me. Um, okay. Um, uh, have you had a moment as a streamer you're like, yeah, now, now I'm just this is just a normal thing for me now, or has that moment not arrived yet? Do you remember when it arrived? Um,
Yeah, that moment has definitely not arrived yet. To be perfectly honest with you, because even though I've been streaming for like a year and a half, and I'm coming up on like a year of being affiliated. Like, my audience is still, relatively small. I'm, not a known streamer or anything. So, like, I'm still having so many of like the first experience, like there's so many like little goals and like milestones, and things that I haven't like really experienced yet that are still happening. And every time it does, I'm like, what is going on right now? I am losing my mind. Like actually today, literally today, a few hours ago, um, actually had the first time someone's actually just donated money on stream, and I was just like, what is going on? Why are you giving me money? Hello? And yeah, like it's just I don't know. It's just it gets so surreal. Like um, whenever something like that happens, or like when someone who's like a bigger like streamer reads into me, it's I still like freak out. Like one of the streamers that we both frequent, Rhino GT4. Um, he has a pretty big audience, and it's actually gotten kind of regular for him to raid into me. It's been like once a week at this point, but every time he does, I still like freak out. I'm like, what? Why are you raiding into me? Like, don't you have something better to do? So yeah, it's just I don't know. At least for me, it's not something I've gotten used to at all. Um, Even with all this stuff, I feel like I've gotten like really good at. Like I've gotten really good at setting stuff up and making sure there's minimal to no scuff on the stream. Like my streams usually go pretty smoothly technically wise, but yeah, it's just I don't know. I don't think I'd ever get used to it, honestly.
Honestly, I remember suggesting you to Rhino a random stream where I think at first he wanted to raid Arrow, but Arrow wasn't streaming or wasn't active for whatever
Mhm.
reason. I was like, how about Cass? And it was like, who's Cass? And I was like, put the actual streamer name. I think you were doing like that European racing truck game.
Oh yeah, that would have either been yeah, I think it was the PS4 truck racing game, which
Yeah,
in the US is just called Truck Racing Championship and has zero FIA branding. But in Europe, it's actually called like FIA Truck Racing Championship, and I think has another subtitle or something. Because yeah, I remember us talking about that because it wasn't that long before that he actually played that game.
well, if obscure racing game exists, Rhino GT4 played it.
Yeah, one of us has played it. If he hasn't played it, I've played it. And actually, one of us owns it because the other person who buys way too many racing games is him. So, yeah, if
Good
he doesn't
point.
have it, I'll have it. If I don't have it, he has it.
Also, small bit, just in case you happen to be listening to this, Ryan. Love you, brother. All right. Um. Okay. Where? Ah. Okay. Sometimes my mind just doesn't work. Just goes no. Do you ever feel like that?
That's me every 5 minutes. So,
Well, we've been going for just over half an hour, so you've been disguising it really well.
look, see, well, the one thing I know I talk about it a little bit on stream, but I don't talk about it too much. Is I do have ADHD, and it is relatively bad. But I figured out that the solution for me is actually to multitask. So, full transparency, I'm actually watching a stream while we're doing this, and
What?
it's keeping me focused.
Well, wanna shout out whoever you happen to be watching right now?
Yeah, so well, I'm actually lurking in one of them, but um, I'm actively watching Thunder THR, who is a very good bean. We do like Thunder. And the one I'm kind of lurking in, but not really watching, is Comrade Barrick, who has been a very good friend of the channel for a very long time.
Yeah, actually, mod for Thunder, as you know. So glad you're watching.
No, absolutely. I usually try to watch Thunder. I was a little quiet in chat for a very long time, but I'm usually there.
Um, Actually, I don't think I ever. I don't know if I ever said this on record. I don't think I have a ADHD, but I do have autism, or I'm neurodivergent, or whatever it's better to call.
Hmm.
So while I don't have that particular struggle, I do get that brain working in not the what's considered normal kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um, do you have any like thing you like to do specifically before you start a stream? Like, and do you do anything like out of the usual to get to make yourself feel ready for a stream?
I'll say personally, I don't. Um, Starting a stream though gets a little weird for me because I never feel like I'm ready when I actually hit start. Because I try to do certain things before I actually go live. Like there's certain like browser sources have to refresh or like you know, my emotes won't work or something. And like Truckin' Tuesday, there's like a lot of equipment I actually have to get set up. Because I have like the racing wheel, there's two button boxes, the shifter has its own cable, a head tracker, and then of course the microphone. So like it's a lot of actual like setup, but I'll go through everything like two or three times, still think I'm not ready, but then I just can't think of anything else to actually do, and I'll just hit live. So, yeah, like, every time I go live, I don't think I'm ready to stream. I'm just out here.
Hey, at least from the streams I've watched, and I watched a few, they all worked out well, so maybe you're more ready than you think.
Probably, I don't know. It's it's just weird. It's like, oh, I don't know. It's just always a little doubt that something is not ready or something's not right or something's broken, but yeah, I like I said, I know I said earlier, I always try to have keep everything to minimal stuff, and I feel like I do an alright job at that.
um, how did you come up with your stream intro, like your current one? Cause it's so good. Like I've seen streamers with way more following that whose intro has nothing on yours.
So, yeah, that intro, which is still relatively new, it's only like a couple months old at best. And actually before that, there was literally no intro. I just went from starting soon to oh crap, here's gameplay. Um, I remember I was actually talking. Actually, I was talking to two people about it. But I was talking to Adam, Mr. Cool VT, because he does do some graphic design. It's kind of part of like what he does for a job. And I was also talking to Minnie, who I can't believe it's taken me this long to mention Minnie. Shout out to the Ministry of Ennui Control. Um,
The previous
that
episode of this show.
Absolutely, and actually one of the kindest and best friends I've ever made in my life. And we love Minnie, we stand Minnie.
Yeah, she's a gem of
Um,
a person.
and everyone should follow Minnie, or I will hurt all of you that don't follow Minnie. But um, I remember I was talking to both of them like over like a couple weeks. I was like, I want to change up my stream. I want to do things that are different because everything was just so basic on it. I mean, everything was functional, but it was all just so basic because, like, I'm not a designer. I'm not an artist. I don't have that in me. But I just kept like looking at other people's streams, and I really like, just like the animated backgrounds that a lot of people do. And it just clicked. I was like, what if I do a PSP visualizer? And like, also, I can't believe I haven't mentioned the PSP yet with collecting. But the PSP is my favorite handheld, like by far. I have nine of them. It is just an amazing console. So I was like, well, what if I just put the PSP visualizer like as the starting soon screen. So that's what it is, the white background with the bars that move up and down. Um, and that was just recorded off of my PSP, hooked up through component cables into the capture card. And the song that was playing was Airplanes, with B.O.B. and Haley Williams. So, because whatever song you play is like determines how the bars move. So yeah, if anyone's curious, it's B.O.B. and Haley Williams Airplanes that made it look like that. So I made it transition into the normal screen, but everything else was still normal. But I still had the PSP out, and I looked. I had just had like the default background, which does move. It's actually similar to the PS3 kind of background screen. If anyone has a PS3, so I then just recorded that, and then just uploaded that and made it the new background. Um, and then yeah, the brain, like all the brain freaking gears were still turning. So I was like, wait, what if I just stop the music because it's on the visualizer right now and go over to the video section on the PSP and launch that? So, like when we transition to, the starting screen, which is the PSP visualizer, like the transition basically stops the song in the music folder, moves over to the video folder, starts a video, and that's the stream. Um, and I don't know, it was one of those moments of brilliance that I had, and I would like to say it was easy to set up, but it actually took like 4 hours to get it working right because I kept on having to like um record on the PSP, or I'd have to like put something on the PSP so it could say what I wanted it to say, or then like that's a little Easter egg no one has noticed. The date and time, it's April 20th at 20 minutes after 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So haha, funny numbers. Um, but yeah, I kept on having to like go and like change stuff or like upload things, um, and then like record it and then go put it into DaVinci and edit it. And yeah, like it took forever, but I don't know. I feel like it came out pretty decent. I can't complain about it too much.
The effort shows. I can tell you that much. And how did you come up with your streamer name?
That part I do not remember. I'm not gonna lie. It basically just started because the CO, that is my like first two initials. And actually it used to be COJ because when I changed my name, I was planning on also changing my last name, which I do still plan on changing. But then I realized I'm not going to take that last name. So, yeah, the CO is just my first and last name. It's Cassandra Olivia. Or not first and last, first and middle. Um, yeah, that's the CO. But, also generally, I'm not actually that good at video games. And, Pog is like the haha Twitch funny thing. I was like, oh, I'm not Pog. So that's the whole name. I don't remember how I came up with that. That just something random that I really didn't put too much thought into.
And now you curse to people always tell you how pog you are.
I mean, look, they can try, but I'm still just gonna defeat those allegations every time.
No. I'm gonna keep telling you you're pog as fuck. And that you're
Look,
loved and valid, and this is an entire threat.
I mean, look, if I still had my VOD of when I tried to play Wipeout on the PS2, yeah, the not pog is very valid because that game absolutely destroyed me every way it could.
To be fair, everyone has games that they suck at. Um, um, unless my brain comes up with another question, I believe I asked everything that I really wanted to.
Okay.
I hope I hope you had a good time, that you have fun.
Yeah, no, this was excellent. This was a great time.
Um, To anyone who listened thus far, thank you for listening. Follow Cass over here. She is Pog, even though she
Mm.
says she isn't. That makes her even more Pog. So
Look, I am
give her a
not
follow.
I am not Pog. Subscribe to Saturn 185 on YouTube immediately.
See how Pog
Do
she
it.
is? I'm telling you. Anyways, thank you for listening, everyone. Do you have anything else you want to say, Cass?
I don't think I do. I think that is about it.
All right. Once again, thank you all for listening, and have a good one.